the thing that gets me to where I am today is between 2019 and 2020, I went on a journey to interview 500 thought leaders on credibility. And it gave me two gifts. One, which I'll share at some point in time, I will share the definition of the word credibility. Credibility is the quality in which you're trusted, known, and liked. And I'll share a slide that shows you that framework. The other thing, which is really behind everything I do, is the ability to have clarity. And so I was able to download a formula right before I started and reinforce it 500 times, now over 1,400 times. And it's a formula to articulate clarity. So when you listen to somebody and they say they are a clarity expert, I'm going to give you a definition. Clarity is in 3 to 9 words where one executes on their purpose. So they have a compass. I'll say it again. Clarity is where someone executes on their purpose in 3 to 9 words, and it's used as a compass.
That's beautiful, because clarity, that for me, because I'd like to say it in my own terms, if that's okay. Clarity gives you the direction that you should be going. Once you've determined purpose, I love that, because it's the compass. And unfortunately, in 2026, most young people probably don't know what a compass is. But those of us that have been around for a while really understand that, and I thank you for that. So I want to jump right into our questions, because I want everyone to get the most out of this interview tonight. So you've said that most people and companies struggle with clarity. How do you define true clarity, and why is it so foundational to business success?
Well, when I share at some point in time, we'll talk about executive abundance. You'll see where clarity fits into the bigger picture. But I want to say it's where everything starts. It's when you wake up in the morning, what do you do? Where do you spend time? How do you drive satisfaction? What's important to you? And the ability to be able to articulate your purpose in 3 to 9 words allows you to have a compass. That compass allows you to make decisions that are in alignment with who you are, because you have values, right? And so what you want to do with your values, you want to live those values, but you want to do it within the framework of your compass. Now, what companies need to do is they need to actually have a compass, or they need to have, I call it a CPOP, their customer point of possibilities. They need to be able to articulate in 3 to 9 words where their employees are executing on the corporate purpose. And now here's what's interesting. Every division has its own version. Every department, every person has its own compass, has its own CPOP. And what you're looking for when you're hiring new people for the company, you're looking for people where there's a big overlap between who people are and how they show up. As a matter of fact, I do have a interesting slide. Let me see if I could find that one, and I'll share it. So I will share 2 slides. First, I want to share this. This is what a CPOP is. It's the expression of purpose in 3 to 9 words that serves as your compass. It guides every decision. Now, what often happens at companies is they have this thing, they have a purpose statement. And I'm going to encourage you to throw away the mission, vision, values, purpose, because there are 10 values of credibility, and I think we just need to execute all of them. We can be more humane. Throw all that stuff away and come up with 3 to 9 words. And then this is where we could spend a little time talking, if you want, Dr. Rasheda, this is an interesting slide to think about. Because if you can look at the corporate CPOP, and this is we call this a Venn diagram. If you look at the Venn diagram and the overlap between the corporate CPOP and the employee CPOP, that is where you get the work synergy. That's where you get operational excellence. So this is absolutely how companies can force and work on operational excellence. Actually, they don't have to force it. They just have to live it. If you look at the next 2 bubbles, the employee CPOPs and the customer CPOPs, because where that overlap is, that leads to customer intimacy and product leadership. And so largely what we're talking about here is, how do we take purpose And how do we not make it just something that's nice that hangs on a wall, but makes it something that we just all live every day?
So when you coach and you tell them to give you their purpose statement or clarity statement in 3 to 9 words, do you have an example just for the challenge, just for the audience to
Oh,
get
sure. Well,
understanding of what that statement looks like? Because I stopped a young man who was trying to sell me a book at the conference. I stood there and coached him for about 10 minutes on his why he needed to understand what his pitch was and why he needed to do it in 15 seconds. So this looks like something that's very similar. Could you give the audience an example of a 3 to 9 word clarity statement?
absolutely. Well, first we'll start with mine, and I'll give you the framework. It's the who and the what. So it starts off with who you serve. So for me, if I'm doing mine, it's fast growing CEOs. The next piece is from their perspective, what is their pain point or what is their pleasure point? And so what I'll say is living executive abundance. So my CPOP, fast growing CEOs living executive abundance.
That's
Now,
awesome.
I'll
Go
give you
ahead.
another one.
Yeah.
There's a company that does LinkedIn automation. It's one of the other companies that I have. That CPOP, and you'll see the difference in why it's so different. That CPOP is business owners tired of slimy LinkedIn sales tactics. See, that's exactly so. What does a CPOP do? It encourages the person who's on the other side to lean in and say, "Tell me more. What do you mean by that?" Or laugh, right? Because if you're in business, you really do need to use LinkedIn, but there are so many slimy LinkedIn tactics, people sort of clam up and walk away from it.
The hundreds of DMs that I get a day, whether it be for my corporate position or for my business. I That's why you got that chuckle, because I can relate. So it's I think that that is powerful because it helps people to literally relate to the reality of what they're experiencing in 3 to 9 words without a full dissertation, right?
Now,
About the CPOP.
now let me give you another one. It's possible that Reverend James can use this.
Okay.
It came from a rabbi. It's 3 words, right? And it's really hard to get the 3 words. So I always say 3 to 9. I don't like going over that, but sometimes you can do 10, but 3 is so cool. All right, are you ready?
Yep, ready.
People want more.
Oh wow.
Right? Because so
People
let me tell you from this rabbi, that perspective is if you're in his congregation, there are so many people who are unhappy with who they are today because they want more. We've been taught that enough is never enough, so we need more. But the truth is, for many people, life is really good where you are today. What a great, in his congregation, what a great rabbi to be able to do that. And so anyone who is in that world, that's a great CPOP to use.
I think that's amazing. 3 words. I'm like, I don't know if I could do 3 words, but yeah, absolutely. So let's continue on with that. I think that that was great, and thank you for that. Maybe Reverend James will use that. People want more, and then and then I think that he probably could use 4 words. People want more visibility because that's really what he does. Is he provides visibility. Maybe the transformation piece of the network and what he does. I don't know. Maybe he's listening and he can catch on to what we're saying, and we'll send him an invoice for that one.
Now, no, if you want at some point in time, we could decide if we have time at the end, we can create your CPOP line. So happy
I
to.
appreciate that. I
Okay.
love it. Your research did so. The second part of that question is why is this process or this framework? Why do you believe that it's foundational to business success?
You know, it's so amazing when you think about uh, a number, and I'm going to give you a number. It's 20%.
Mhm.
That number represents how many the average typical company employees are engaged. 20%. That means 80% of the people who are there are not happy. They're quietly checking out. They're not fully engaged. They'd rather be somewhere else, but they need a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't think that's a great way to live life. I don't think when we created when Henry Ford created the Industrial Revolution and helped forward in the world we live in today, that was his goal, was to have people be at work and not love what they do, particularly now with AI. So the interesting part, foundationally, if we could build purpose into what the company does, and then make sure that the employees who are part of that company truly believe in that purpose because it aligns with their purpose, wow, that gets really different.
It does, and I'm really really pleased to say that I am experiencing that now. After nearly 30 years in corporate, the last 2 years I've been working with a gentleman that is truly focused on his purpose. He's focused on the purpose for which he developed his business. Is 43 years old. His business is 43 years old. He is very focused on that, and he has told me two things that are very they're anomalies when it comes to corporations and business. Two things that drive him, and you would be just amazed to know that his real, I'll share it because we're on a network that understands, but his real mission is to lead as many people to Christ as possible. He tells us all the time that his business is this business. He created it. It is a ministry. It is for the purpose of reaching the lost. And he does that. We do that through business. And so he is very focused on morale, very focused on ensuring that the employees share that message and that it resonates with them. And there are things, because we're in the private sector, that we're able to do that I've never been able to do in corporate America in 20 plus years. And so I'm excited to say that I'm experiencing that because he is living out his purpose, and we're literally living out what Habakkuk 2:2 says, write the vision and make it plain that they that read it will run with it. So he wrote the vision, we've read it, it's all a part of his purpose, and now we run with it. And so I'm excited for people to hear this tonight so that they understand that you can run a business that is aligned with your purpose, and you can do it unapologetically and without fear.
I'm with you. Love it.
So your research leans into short-termism in business. So we know that people start businesses every day by the droves, and then only 4 or 5% of them survive. What do you believe happens to leaders and organizations when results are driving every decision, or money?
Well, let me re-say. I'm going to reframe what you just said.
Okay.
I did do my Ph.D. focus on short-termism, but I don't lean into that. What I leaned into is trying to avoid short-termism.
Okay, right.
So what's interesting is when we started this industrial revolution and brought people into cities to create companies, there were the entrepreneurs who put up the investments, and what they wanted is they wanted to be able to harness the power of the people and to be able to both give back to the community. They want to create companies that would give back to the community and at the same time reward them with money for the efforts that they created. Now, what's happened over time is that we've allowed this to go too far. The greed that exists on Wall Street, the focus on money only, the concept of people not being important but cogs in the wheel is part of this short-termism. So what ends up happening is I keep hearing these stories when I start talking to people about this, of what happened at corporate that was really horrible to them. Can I tell you a story? Would you mind?
I'll go right ahead. I'm sure I could share some too.
Oh, you know what? I would love to hear some because I'm in data collection or i.e. storytelling mode, right? So it's a friend of mine who worked for a well-known branded SaaS company.
Mhm.
She was in sales, and up until the time she made the largest sale the company ever made, typically sales were somewhere around $100,000 to $200,000. She had worked for a year and a half and closed a $1.2 million sale. For her, this represented a $120,000 commission check.
Wow.
Like she was like, "Oh my god!" Jumping up and down, high fives from all of her peers. You know, the company was doing something they've never done before, and she had another one that she was working that was going to come in at 1.5 million. Now, short-termism is when a company focuses on making their quarterly results. And some finance guys said because the company was in a downturn, so they
Oh,
were in scarcity mode, not abundance mode. Some finance person said, we could fire her, not pay her commission. We'll be able to make our numbers this quarter. And if she took us to court, maybe we'll have to pay it 2 years from now. But that's tomorrow's problems, not today's problem. So they fired her. I know. And and she's never worked for corporate since because she just doesn't trust the
I
system.
don't blame her.
And the thing is, the fact that that can happen. Think about who experienced that decision. Not only her, but everyone who was in sales. The people at the company she sold, the people at the company that the deal fell through of the second company, of everyone in the company who knew her, and she's such a good soul, who know that she was betrayed. How there's nothing associated with when purpose becomes we need to make money, and we kick to the side of the street somebody who brought us the best deal possible. There's something wrong with the equation. So that's really the focus on short termism. There has to be another way. Now, let me give. You're not gonna. You're gonna be surprised what I'm gonna say. The finance person was just doing their job, right?
Ru-
There. So I'm not.
uh,
I know. And you
it
can
just
not like.
seems so. It's so immoral.
Oh, you could so not like me for this, and there's a part of me that could see because remember I jumped from I do
Yeah.
context switching, right? So they were told, okay, we need to make money quarter over quarter. We need to go up every quarter. Make sure you find ways to do this, and that's the only thing that matters. So the finance person, you can't necessarily blame that person. You could blame them for not being a good human, but you can't blame that person because they were doing their job.
Right.
So, Dr. Rasheda, that is what I called executive incoherence. Executive incoherence. Oh, I have a definition for that. Let me find that. Executive
Executive
incoherence.
incoherence.
Yeah, it's a new word. I haven't. You're the second group. I shared it my keynote last week, and you're the second group to hear it. Executive incoherence is what happens when individually rational leadership decisions stop reinforcing one another.
Wow.
So you go to a company and there's silos, executive incoherence. The CFO fires the number one salesperson so they can make their numbers. By the way, unfortunately, the end of the story, she didn't want to sue. She didn't want to be 2 years worrying about this, so she just let it go. So the CFO won, right? But that wasn't really the right thing. So executive incoherence are the types of things that happen inside companies because they're playing by a set of rules which are not the bigger corporate rules. It's not about the whole. It's about individually optimizing their world, i.e., their silo.
So when we look at it, when we look at the big picture of that story, I call it, and I'm from a little small country place, but I call it shooting yourself in the foot despite your hand, because
Yeah.
you cannot duplicate her efforts. So that short-termism literally seems like it would be the death of the process, because you're chasing a result that can now not be duplicated because the person who created that result is no longer there. Right?
So the answer to that statement is resoundingly yes, and it still happens all the time.
It does. It does. Yeah, it does, because short term is short sightedness as well. We start businesses to have a very small sight. Most people that start businesses, or I shouldn't say most people, visionaries that start business have a big picture that they're chasing, and they're not chasing what's just right in front of their nose.
Well, what's interesting though is if you think about how many family businesses run, if you think about what they do is they borrow from Wall Street, they borrow from NASDAQ. And the way those companies work is, and I sat on the board of a NASDAQ firm for 9 years. I only wore one hat and one set of glasses. I only wore one set of lenses.
Mm-hmm.
The lens I wore because I had fiduciary responsibility for the shareholders was, how are we doing next quarter? What are you doing that's going to screw that up? That was, and the truth was, that's the only thing I thought was important, because I was never told otherwise. I was one of those people who were short-sighted, because that's, when I go to other board meetings of board members and they talk about what they do and what's important, how do you drive success and all that stuff. We all spoke from the same language book. It wasn't necessarily the bigger picture language book I'm speaking from now, but it's one in which everyone around me all said the same thing. That is, hey, let's make money. That CFO probably got a bonus because he made the quarterly numbers.
Yeah. So that, that it's like the trickle down effect. It just keeps going, but it missed the person who did the work. So with that being said, you teach that prosperity should extend beyond the investor or the owner. What does an abundance-centered business model look like? What is executive abundance? What does it really teach or practice?
So can I start? Do you mind if I start with the sort of the academic looking thing?
Right.
Or would you rather me start with the more traditional sort of human focus?
Oh, let's go. Let's keep it simple. Let's go with the simplest terms so that our audience can benefit and understand what it is.
Simple terms. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is not the academic terms. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you that I wrote a contract for, I'm working on onboarding a top executive in the marketing department. And I wrote a contract that was very corporate. It had a lot of corporate lingo. And I've been working on this contract back and forth for about, let's say, 21 days at least. And it was not until yesterday that I'm in a meeting with all of the leaders, and they say, I don't know. I didn't understand it. And now everybody's passing the ball. They're all like, I didn't understand. My question was, on day 2, when all of you got this contract, why didn't you say that you didn't understand it then? Because now I'm here at half court ready to pass the ball so that the next leader can go and score the point, bring the new contractor, the new consultant in, and nobody understands exactly. She and I understand. She understands because I come from corporate. She comes from corporate, but we're in the private sector. So what I had to do today is I'm like, okay, everybody, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my ball. Literally going to take my ball and go home. I'm going to take my ball. I'm going to go back to my office, and I'm going to simplify this and make it very easy for you guys to understand so that we can score.
So what I'm going to say, we could, at some point in time, we'll come back to the definition of credibility and share the 10 values. But what that means is the company, the CEO has not instilled in the company the ability to have a trusting environment, because people are not willing to be vulnerable. They're not willing to say, hey, I don't know. Can you tell me? Because they feel like they're not good enough.
Yeah.
And that is the CEO's job. That is the CHRO's job, to create an environment where there is trust and there is respect. And you
I'm
could,
the martyr on the hill.
all right, got
Because
it.
I'm going up that hill and I'm gonna say what needs to be said. I'm gonna do what needs to be done. And I'm just like, I'm sort of like the I say the martyr on the hill, but more like the toddler that's just free. It's like, hey, this all of this happens and all of this goes on, all this needs to happen. And hey, that was wrong or that was right. I've lived my life in a position that is fearless. I just don't. I don't have any fear. I don't have any fear when it relates to anything. And
I
so,
love that.
because of that, I've just lived free. So let you answer the
So
question.
you and I should spend more time together because you're
We
definitely
should.
on my line. But what I want to do, I'm going to start with, and think about think about the company you're excited about right now. What's the most important thing when you're living your purpose? It's who do you serve? And what I want to say, if you look at that ecosystem, there are 5 stakeholders in the ecosystem. Now, you heard me talk about sitting on the board of a NASDAQ firm. The only stakeholder we cared about was investors. Harder to see on this. I'll show you this on the next slide, but they are fourth in the equation. What is the most important who you serve? It's your family and yourself. If things are not good at home, if you don't have good health, nothing else matters, right? So that's most important. What comes next is employees. Now, on the employee side, this is where clarity is important. Most of the time, there are companies who are really working hard and they want to empower their employees to be successful. By the way, today I was on a call with a president, and somebody missed a thing because they were at a different meeting. And the CEO said, "So what were they doing at that meeting?" And the president said, "I shouldn't be at that level of detail. That would be lacking respect in allowing the person to do their job." So we need to not just respect, we need to not just empower employees, we need to respect them. Now, in customers, here's the interesting part. How many companies say customer service is number one, the most important thing? And I'm going to say most of them are lying. If you look at their income statement and you look at the quality of the employees, because most of the time it's the lowest paid employees who are put on customer service. How much can you care about your customers if your lowest paid employees are the ones who are servicing them? Okay, we know about investors. We know what we need to do there. On community, a lot of times what happens from a short-sighted or short-termism perspective is there might be a community program, and the company decides to pull back because they don't have the money. They're having a time of scarcity. Well, a lot of people get affected in doing that. So the who you serve is the ecosystem. What comes next is what do we reinforce? And what I actually came up with was, and we talked about clarity so far, and we'll come back to credibility, consistency, and commitment. But the engine of executive abundance are those 4 elements. Oh, I forgot to mention, for companies which are purpose-driven companies who want to bring God into the equation, this engine will still work. We just add one more stakeholder here. We add the stakeholder called God. Okay. Now, here's the most important thing. And I had a fight when I was putting this slide together with AI, because what AI wanted me to do is stay consistent. Who we serve, what we reinforce, how we live. But the point is, it's not easy to live in a world of executive abundance. We have to choose to live that way.
Okay.
So by the way, while you're asking a question, I'm going to put up the next slide, which is, this is the academic version. So the academic version will show that it's the EA ecosystem. It's who do we serve, the executive abundance ecosystem. And what we do is we apply the engine. And that's what, when I talk with clients, this is what we talk about. Always when I'm doing executive coaching with a client, I'm always asking, how are you? How's the family? How's your health? How about your employees? What's going on? Tell me about customers. I don't get to how's the business doing to later on in the conversation. And then I'll ask about community as well. And so it's kind of for me, this is naturally what I've been doing for a long time. What I did with the dissertation is actually prove that these are ordered and interdependent.
Nice. So I don't want to miss the opportunity for you to talk about clarity and credibility and how they're connected. I want you to talk about that and give them the 10 points that go along with the credibility, because they have to have that. They've got to have it. So I don't want to miss out on that. So I want to just address it. Tell them how clarity and credibility are connected and what behaviors most quickly strengthen or damage a leader's credibility.
Love that. So I'm going to share another slide. This is what came out of interviewing 500 thought leaders on credibility. And first, I'll give you the quick definition on credibility. It is sometimes listed this way in dictionaries because I've had an effect since then. But since in 2019, when I looked, what was in the dictionary is that credibility is the quality of being trusted. And that didn't feel right. That's why I did the research. Credibility is the quality in which you're trusted, known, and liked. And so let me share that with you. Credibility is the quality in which you're trusted, known, and liked. And what's interesting about that is that the 10 values of credibility become very easy to put your arms around. Now, let's start with an easy one. We'll start with, how do you be liked? Okay. You're doing one of the components of being liked now. There are 2 values of being liked. One is showing respect. So this is something that leaders often don't do well enough with their people. Showing respect means coming early to your own meetings. It means being aware of what your people are doing. It's coming early, coming prepared, coming with your heart. If you can show respect, if I'm on a podcast, I've researched the person ahead of time. I often come in 5 or 10 minutes earlier, sometimes 15. I want to make sure that I respect the person I'm working with. And the second thing is sharing your stage, which Dr. Rasheda, you're doing right now. Thank you, by the way, is you're sharing your stage with me, right? You're saying, hey, I want to hear about you. And then you're integrating yourself. You're making it worthwhile. This is how you can be likable. It's those 2 things, showing respect, sharing your stage. Now, if we go back to being trusted, the really interesting thing there, what I look at first is coachability, right? If a board sends me a CEO, I'm going to have a conversation up front, and I'm going to see they're coachable, because there are some people who are just not ready to be coached. If they're not ready, I'll say no. So coachability is most important. We've heard the word authenticity. It's another one of those values that are important. And I'm going to say authenticity could be good and bad, right? Somebody could authentically be a serial killer. Somebody could authentically be mean, or authentically be, and you fill in the blank of what they are. And we as humans are drawn to authenticity, whether it's positive or negative. So I'll come back to that when we look at being known. In the scenario you mentioned before, those in the room were not authentic and they were not vulnerable, right? Because if they were vulnerable, when somebody said to them, do you understand this document? Do you agree with it? They would also have the integrity to go, yeah, I don't get it. You can't say yes to something you don't get, right? Now I'll go to being known, and then we could have a conversation, right? So you'll like the top of being known. It's servant leadership, right? So think about the top areas: being coachable, being a servant leader, showing respect, right? Like if you're just doing those 3 things, that's enough. But the thing is, these values, a lot of companies create different values for different companies. You have to remember these values or those values or these are values that came out of interviewing 500 people. These are values that will allow us as humans to be more humane. And so as you get to know somebody, are they a servant leader? Do they have the intent and commitment to do the right thing? That's what ties into authenticity. Right? If somebody's authentic and then they have the intent and commitment to do the right thing by the company and by other humans, that's great. Or are they authentic they want to make a lot of money and they have the intent and commitment to make money at any cost? that's bad, right? Well, depends how you look at it. Um, I want to share one other thing. When you're looking at this, and I'll share it and I'll talk. Oh, you don't have to. You could do the big picture. The value integrity is here twice. It's the only value that's listed twice. And I'm gonna feel free to go back to us. We'll talk about that since I mentioned this out loud. The the interesting part is that I and I'm being a little vulnerable. I didn't know why it was listed twice till about a year later. It just the
Okay.
numbers came out that way. It just like, okay, this is how it works. A year later, I figured it out. The integrity that's associated with being trusted is your external integrity, is what you say to the world.
Mm-hmm.
The integrity associated once you get to know somebody is your internal integrity, who you really are. And when you go back to your leaders, given this conversation you're in, you want to say this so that they really understand the value of what you're saying. Because when there's a mismatch between the external and internal integrity, that's when the hair in the back of your neck starts sticking up. That's when you start losing trust, but not just trust short term, but trust long term with people. And so it is important that the internal and external integrity are aligned. Otherwise, people will not follow. They will not have their teams will not follow them.
Right. And for me, it created a very frustrating feeling naturally. My natural sense was to be frustrated because I hate the stench of fear, especially.
Yeah.
And I'm being vulnerable. I hate the stench of fear, especially in just in all authenticity, being the only woman in the room. I hate the stench of fear because there's nothing to fear. We're here, we're a team, we're in this ball game together, and we're here, for the same task and the same goal. But I know that it takes these levels, these things that you are breaking through with executives for employees to feel that they can be vulnerable, they can be honest. And I just am that person. I just believe that I can be honest with you. I can be vulnerable because it is opening up a door for you, for us to build more trust and for you to understand that I'm here as a team player to make sure that we reach the goal of success that we're looking or reaching or striving towards. One of the words I want to touch base on before we get into your current framework is what role does servant leadership really play in building a company that is both profitable and sustainable?
Mm, kind of simple, right? It's you're if you are a servant leader, you are almost by definition executing on your CPOP. You're executing on your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you just think about the simplicity of a CPOP, who do you serve, and what pain point or pleasure point are you bringing them to? And if you are a servant leader, you want to add value to the audience you serve, and you want to either address their pain point or bring them to a better place, then that is servant leadership, and you're doing it, and you have a compass that shows you exactly what you're doing. So I don't know how to say it other than to say it's everything. It's fundamental.
It's
I don't know why
fundamental.
we don't. By the way, the question uh, begs a different question, and why don't people see this? Nor why is this not? Why is this not obvious? It's a good question, and why is it not obvious?
I think that it's a great place to be in servant leadership. It's meaning, that we are serving as leaders. I think that what overshadows it are the things that you touched on before: the greed, the reasoning behind why people do things, and the bad side of authenticity that we're so drawn to in the world of capitalism in this country. We sometimes forget that people are important. And I'll tell you this really quickly, a story. I went to an interview one time that was probably 45 minutes from my house. And I was just thinking, dear Lord, I'd love to have this job, but I also don't want to be in traffic. But the executive across the table asked me, what did I believe was the number one asset of a company? And I know in my knower that the reason that I didn't get that job is because I said people. Without thinking, without trying to drum up something else, I have always had the understanding that people are important and they are the greatest asset of whatever we accomplish and whatever we do. And I guess he didn't, his sentiments weren't the same.
Well,
And so and so as much as I didn't want to really drive 45 minutes, I thought that I deserved that job, but I think that he was taken back by my answer. He didn't expect that answer. And so he was not prepared to rebut it. It was almost the end of the conversation when I said people. I guess he felt like, oh, she's going to come in and, there's going to be a culture shift. But I just believe that anywhere that we are, when we have civility, right, we have empathy, we realize that we're all human, that we should shift atmospheres, that we should shift cultures, that we should be loving and kind to people and understand that they are a great asset to what we're trying to accomplish.
yeah, you wouldn't. It's a good thing you didn't get that job because you wouldn't have liked it anyhow.
No, I would have been. I think I would have been miserable. They would.
Right.
I would have been miserable because I love people. I take time every single day to go out to the warehouse. In the warehouse, I want to talk to the people. I want to make sure everybody's okay. I want to talk to them and make them feel seen and heard. I
Love
don't
that.
like the haves and the have-nots kind of environment when you have that type of corporation that we're running. And I know that the owner, that his heart is so pure towards people that I have to be his representative, his hands and his feet. And so
Mm,
people are the greatest asset. And I really love the fact that family and self are the first people that we have to understand how to serve in this framework. So I want
yeah.
to take an opportunity to just take myself down off the stage and allow you to share your current work, talk about the executive abundance framework, your book, and how listeners can connect with you.
Yeah. Oh, well, first, I want to say a couple things
Oh,
for you to
before
think
I go,
about. Yeah, before you go. So, too many times, what people will do is say, "Hey, I didn't get the job because I said people first," and then they give a different answer the next time. And
mhm,
I want to encourage anyone who's listening to this, don't put, if you know the right answer and it is the right answer, don't give somebody the answer they want to hear. Give them your answer.
yeah,
It's just kind of simple. It's not easy. By the way, simple and easy are not the same.
no.
It's very, very simple. It's just not easy. And the simple part is you should always live your values. Um, can I give a coaching moment to you? Would
Can
you?
you
Are you
can
okay?
you repeat that? The last statement. You should always what?
Oh, you should always live your values.
Always live your values. Always live your values. And yes, I am coachable. Coach me, coach.
So I there was a word you used, and I know why you used it. You used the word hate, and
Yes.
you used the word hate because it was in relation to a scenario where people were not really they were pretending they understood something and they didn't. Okay, and as much as I love hearing that, I'm going to try to my coaching scenario is I would do my best to find a way to express it where you don't use the word hate.
Okay.
Okay.
Redirect me.
So what I might do, I thought about, so I'm an experiential learner.
Hmm.
So what I could the what I do is I'll put myself in your shoes, and I thought about what I would say when I was in those rooms.
Yes.
Right. So because if you came in and made it personal, I hate it when you guys do
Oh
this,
no.
right? Right. So the way to do it
That,
instead is, listen, you guys are amazing. And I see how amazing you really are. Um, and there's something you did recently that what happened to me is it got me thinking about you in a different way. You may want to do this one on one. And what would not be good is if your employees started seeing and feeling that way as well.
right.
Right. And then you could go on with, and it just, that was where I was thinking. So there's probably a better way to express that. But that's normally when I coach somebody, I would kind of go, huh, how would you, the first thing I would say is, how would you approach them? And we'd go back and forth in a little bit. But I wanted to share with you, I would use this as, because it's so fresh, I would use this as an opportunity to coach those folks. Not that they did wrong, because they were, remember, they were following somebody else's rules, right?
Yes.
So they didn't do wrong. It's just that they could have done so much better, that they could have been inspiring to others.
Right. Right. I received that. And just for context, guys, he was absolutely right. You don't want to insert your personal feeling into that type of environment, and I never would do that either. Never. That's just me being expressive and passionate about the fact that this was what was going on. But I appreciate that coachable moment, because there's so many of us that sometimes take what is happening in the business space and in the corporate world very personal. Very personal. I had to tell a gentleman, I had to one-on-one, I had to tell him, I'm not here to harm you. I'm here to help you. You're not on you're not on an island. You're not alone. You're not by yourself, but you have to allow those of us that have been assigned to help you with this project to help you. So my word this week has been group projects. That's what I've been telling people. I'm like, listen, this group project is getting out of hand. I need everybody to do their part. But I so appreciate that, because that is the direction that I'm going as a leader, is to ensure that I take these people that I'm entrusted with, to coach them and to share my heart's mission and my value with them when it comes to this type of thing. But let me tell you, I was frustrated. I'm telling you, if I was a steamboat, you would have seen the steam coming out of my ears, because I was like, oh my goodness. Because all these other things come into play, about thinking about the fact that you're trying to accomplish something, get to the end of a goal, and another person is on the side waiting. And I'm like, she must think that we are incompetent for it to take this long to figure out what one offer should look like. And so there is a need for what you do. I think that it's amazing. I love it, every bit of it. And I'm going to get out of the way and let you tell people about Executive Abundance, about your book, and how they can work with you, where they can find you.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to share. So I shared the formula Executive Abundance. The book itself is available on Amazon. And so if you go to Amazon, just type in Executive Abundance, you'll find me. If you like how I sound, if you don't like how I sound, buy the book, either in Kindle or hardcover. If you like how I sound, buy the audio version, because I read the book myself and it's 5 hours. And we could all find 5 hours, and it's so full of aha moments and transformational opportunities for you to think about. So how you find me is through either go to Amazon, or if you went to my website, my name is Mitchell Levy, MITCHELLLEVY. So you go to mitchelllevy.com. There you'll see things about me, things I do, access to my calendar, a link to Amazon where you could buy, or just go directly to Amazon and pick up the book. I wanted to share. I was talking to you before the show. So I just got the Ph.D. It's been kind of fun, and I did my first keynote last week, which really opened up. And I created a image with AI that I want to share. So that'll be the next image I share, and it's because it sometimes AI gets it like right, and sometimes it gets it like, yeah, not quite right, and sometimes it's like, oh my God, did you know what you just really did? This is one of those, right?
Okay.
So this is the image that it created, and
Wow.
what it first of all, the title says consequences of your leadership. What legacy will you leave? Sorry, what legacy will you leave? Um, and for me, well, no, actually, it says live. Will you live? But sorry. To me, legacy is felt in the success of your stakeholders. And so, what's interesting is if you, Dr. Rasheda, how many employees are there in the smaller company you're working with now? When you come
There's 61 employees.
got it. So there are 61 employees. Currently, your legacy and the CEO's legacy is the 61 dinner conversations that are happening.
Absolutely.
Are they good conversations or bad conversations? Now, imagine you're running a company with 100,000 employees or 200,000 employees. That's every night. There are 200,000 conversations that are positive or negative. That's your legacy, not the name on the side of the wall. But what I loved about this image is if you do nothing different, most businesses will travel straight and travel towards executive incoherence. Right. And it's a little bit cloudy, but it's straight. You don't have to do anything. No turns, just go. No extra work. If you decide that executive abundance is worth doing, the very simple roadmap, it is absolutely not easy. So what I loved about what AI did is it's sunnier, right? So it's prettier, but notice that it goes uphill and it's windy, right? That means you actually have to be actively driving the car, right? And so it's simple, but it's not easy because the world is going to tell you to go towards the area that actually leads to executive incoherence, and you have to take an active role to live your values, to be a servant leader, to do the right thing, even in times where people are telling you that it makes sense to do not the right thing.
Right. Absolutely.
So my favorite slide.
I love that. I love that.
Thank you.
Always live your values. Be unapologetic about that. Live your values. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience tonight?
There are many things, but I have one thing.
Okay.
A lot of times we see a thought leader, we hear somebody, and we get excited. And Simon Sinek is one of those guys. And he has taught the world the 3 words start with why. Mm-hmm. I would like to say that there's a question that comes before that. That question is 4 words. And every time you make a decision, whether it's for your personal life or for your business life, I'd like you to ask yourself these 4 words.
I got my pen.
They are, who experiences this decision? Because when you're in business, we normally optimize around 1 or 2 stakeholder groups. We don't ever think about all 5. And so I'd like you to think about the next time you're making a massive decision, who experienced the decision that everyone at the table for the last 21 days, when they made the decision to go yes without thinking about it, who experienced that decision? Right? And if they start thinking that way, it might start changing everything. That's my I need to incorporate and bundle this more. But if you think about one thing for me, I don't think people remember executive incoherence or executive abundance. Maybe you will. But I think it's easier for people to go, who experiences this decision? Is that in alignment with my purpose? Am I doing the right thing? How was that?
Am I doing the right thing? That was great, Dr. Levy. Thank you so much again for being here. Everyone, I'm sure that this was a rich conversation. I pray it was a rich conversation for you. Please make sure that you connect with him. Please go and purchase his book on Amazon, Executive Abundance, Dr. Mitchell Levy. It has been a great pleasure having you here on the Prosperity Blueprint. You all know I say it all the time, I say it every week. Prosperity does not happen quickly, it happens with intention. This is a blueprint to build a life that you only dream of with the help of God Himself, because there's only some things that He can do. He works with your natural and adds the super, and that's what makes Him the supernatural God that we serve. Ensure that you take care of your businesses this week. We will see you next week here at the same time, at the same channel. Remember that you are more than a side hustle. God bless you. We'll see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for watching another episode on James H. Glover Network. We appreciate you for all of your love, all of your support, and all of your just comments. Now, what I need y'all to do is, like this says right here, like and subscribe. Also, I need y'all to share, and I need y'all to tag, and I need y'all to turn on that notification bell over here on YouTube. That lets YouTube know that you like content like this. On behalf of everyone here at the network, we appreciate you, because we couldn't release content the way that we do without your support. So as I always say, sometimes our disappointments are nothing more than God's appointments, meaning some things that we look at as bad, God is only turning it around for our good. Stay blessed, and be a blessing to someone else. And I'll see y'all on the next episode. Peace.